Hey players, this is EMC, and how are you? This is going to be a vlog, a question and answer thing about the last few videos that I made, because I had lots of great comments and lots of questions, and I thought I might as well clear those up and then move on. I found out recently, I went to my doctor, who is awesome, and I found out that I'm vitamin D deficient, which should not surprise me because I do not spend enough time with the sun shining on my skin, which is how we people make vitamin D. We can't make it without the sun. The sun shines on our skin and the magic happens, and then there's vitamin D. And I don't understand how it happens, but that is apparently how it happens. And I, being a video gamer and working inside, I don't get enough sunlight, and so I'm vitamin D deficient. So before I made this video, I went outside and I stood in the sun for a while and let the sun shine on my skin, and it felt wonderful. And yeah, that kind of made me think about one of the questions that came up about the Elder Scrolls cosmology, and that is, what is the sun? So let's talk about that. So we live on Earth. We have a solar system. Earth exists within a solar system, within a galaxy called the Milky Way, within the universe, all right? And we orbit a sun. Our planet orbits the sun. And the other planets in our solar system also orbit the sun. The sun is in the center, and we all orbit around it. That's what makes us a solar system. And the sun is the sun. And the stars are also suns. And they are other solar systems, and the stars we see in the sky are the suns very, 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 very far away. That is not how the cosmology works in the Elder Scrolls. No, it does not. So I found this really great infographic on the intertubes, and I did not make it. If you look closely, it says here who made it, a person on DeviantArt, and thank you. I'm sorry. I hope you don't mind me using your graphic, but it is so awesome, and it really illustrates well how the cosmology of Elder Scrolls works. So, in the very, very, very center is Nirn, is what we think of as a planet. But really, I think thinking about them like planets is not the right way to think about them. You should think about these realms as little bubbles, right? Little bubble universes, right? So Mundus holds a bunch of these little bubbles, one of them being Nirn at the very center, and the other ones being the Aedra. Also, there's the moons of Nirn. So all of that exists within Mundus, which is also its own little bubble of the material plane, okay? And then outside of Mundus is Oblivion. And within the space of Oblivion is all of the little bubble realms that the Daedra made for themselves. They made their own worlds there. And outside of Oblivion is Aetherius. And the Sovngarde is a little bubble world that resides within Aetherius, for example. So there are these little bubbles. But this is not a planetary system. This is not a solar system. But yet, Nirn seems to have a sun. So what the hell is the sun? And the sun's name is Magnus. He is the god of magic. And he fled Mundus before in order to escape being trapped in the material plane. And other Adeda also fled. And according to the myth, they made holes in Aetherius that let the light of Aetherius shine through. And that is what the stars are. They're little holes that let us see through to the light of Aetherius. Magnus made a great big hole because he's a great big god. And he resides in Aetherius, and he is shining like a sun down upon us, and he is also the source of magic for Mundus, for the world. And we hear about Magnus and some of his artifacts in Skyrim, and he is very powerful. He was the architect of Mundus, and he got a clue and he fled before he got trapped, and now he shines on us like the sun from Aetherius, and we have magic in our world because of him. So this is a cool graphic I found on the Imperial Library. I think it's of the Orrery of Morrowind, and there's also one in Oblivion. And I think that clearly we know that there are cosmologists in our world who are making observations, and this is a diagram of their observation from Nirn of the bodies in Mundus, right? So they have observed this. They are as close as we get to scientists, and whether their observation is something we can trust or not, perhaps what we see from Nirn is not what really is, but only how much a mortal can perceive of gods, So, what am I saying? Okay, so we've been talking about canon. How do we know whether something is true or not? What Bethesda did was they gave us scholarly voices, and I think that is so interesting. That is really the thing that fascinates me the most, that they give us these scholarly voices, and we have to accept that there are people who are trying to determine truth as they can understand it, being mortal creatures on Nirn. All right, so that in itself, we should respect at least the work that they've done. We don't need to necessarily take it absolutely literally. For instance, some of the scholars are telling us, anthropology, like these are the myths of all the different races. Well, which one of them is true? They're all true, and none of them are true. Remember when you go talk to the crazy guy about getting the Elder Scroll? He says something just like that. He says it's all true and none of it is true, and what's not true is especially true, right? That's the kind of high fantasy world that we're living in here. That's the sort of situation that we're in. So like in the real world, we have this thing called science, and it's a method to help us determine what is true. It's a method, and it takes iteration, and sometimes it takes generations of people asking questions and making observations, and we get down to a point where we say we have so much evidence and so much data that we can pretty much determine that this thing is true, right? Well, these are like scientists, except they don't really have the tools we have. They don't really have the reality that can be, established like we do. And yet, Bethesda gave us scholarly voices, and we can only expect that we are being given these scholarly voices to respect them and say, from mortal beings on Nirn, these are observations, these are what what the mortals understand as far as they can understand it. And so that is what it is. It may not be literally true. What a mortal can see from Nern of, the starry skies and things that look like planets that are really gods. Things that look like they're a certain size but are actually infinitely large. We're talking about something so metaphysical, so not like real physical world, that you just gotta fucking roll with it, man. You gotta roll with it. There is no true, there's no absolutes in this world. There's no, oh, Lorcan is not Nern, Lorcan is Secunda and Maser. No, Lorcan is all of the mortal plane, he's all of Mundus. No, he's this, no, he's that. The stories say he was ripped apart and Master and Secunda are pieces of his corpse. And, we do know that something that very much resembles a heart and is very much a piece of Lorcan was found in, the Red Mountain. So it's so crazy. It's so hard to take, to determine what is myth and what is fact, what is actual. And I guess that's part of the fun of it, right? Is that we have this crazy pants world where all sorts of things are possible that would not be possible, anywhere else. But you, me, anybody except Bethesda cannot say, this is not that, this is this is, unless you have a confirmation from Bethesda, we don't know what's true, right? We can do our own sort of archaeology and say, okay, so we have experienced these things in the game, and therefore we can pretty much determine that those things are true because we've experienced them in the game. So that makes them kind of canon, or at least parts of it are canon. We can pretty much accept that the main quest line of the games that we've played are canon, and that those heroes did those things. The Dragonborn killed Alduin, destroyed him. He is no longer. That is canon. But was the Dragonborn also the head of the Thieves Guild and the head of the Dark Brotherhood and the Archmage of the Mages College? That stuff is gameplay. Okay? All that side stuff. Pieces of it might be canon. Like, for instance, when we go to the little realm where we meet Sheogorath, he basically confirms that he is the guy you played in Oblivion. He is what resulted of your hero. Your hero in Oblivion became Sheogorath. That is what happened for reals. So it's interesting because they tend to do that. In the next game, we'll probably discover more about what happened to the Dragonborn, right? But that is such a cool moment because it seems like a little side quest, but they're actually confirming that your hero really, really did become Sheogorath. Yeah, and that's so awesome. As far as it seems, your hero is kind of always going to be somewhat demigodish, like the Dragonborn. As the Dragonborn, you are not normal. You are not a normal mortal. You are a avatar of Akatosh, and you kind of are, if not immortal, very, very long-lived. And we'll probably hear more about what happened to us in the next game. Somebody in the comments said that we were trapped in Hermaeus Mora's realm. That's not true. He let us go. We are not in his realm. We are not trapped in his realm like Mirak was. And he let us go. Yeah, we're free to go. And the last thing we're told is that we still have agency. We can still choose the Allfather and walk the path of the Allfather. And, we are still Akatosh's avatar. We are not a slave to Hermaeus Mora. And, that is the last thing we're told at the end of Skyrim. So, no, we are not trapped in oblivion. We are free, we are unknown, and who knows what we'll do next. And as far as what side you chose in the Civil War, that can't matter in canon. What will probably happen is that it is still a tie afterward, and it's not canonical which side you took. It's not canonical that you killed Ulfric or that you overthrew Ellis. And that's how they'll probably deal with that conflict. Well, in the next game, we will most likely have to unite again against the Thalamor. And it'll start with the Empire having to reunite itself and reconstitute itself for that battle. That's my guess. So what you did during the Civil War, which side you took, I don't think that is going to make a canonical difference. You may or may not know that Bethesda has and is releasing, I think, 6 different lore books. 3 for Skyrim and 3 for ESO. And they are basically lore books from the games. But they're curated, right? It's not every piece of lore. And they're being put into categories. So, like, the land of Tamriel and the histories and, the gods. And, I suspect that Bethesda is doing this, one, because we love them and they love us. And we want to throw money at them as much as possible. But I suspect they're also trying to establish a little bit of canon. So I haven't gotten these books yet. I'm going to order the one, the 2 that have come out, the one for ESO and the one for Skyrim. And the others you can pre-order. But I am interested in knowing if, after I've read those, if I feel like that is exactly what they're doing, I'll have to see until I get them. But they're very beautiful. They have a lot of art in them. And I think it's very interesting. This is what I'm most interested in. So this is kind of like my thing, is the meta. What is Bethesda telling us? How are we thinking our way through the reality of this game? And, how is Bethesda messing with us? How do they storytell this story that is so convoluted and confusing and disjointed and contradictory, right? It's that meta that I'm really interested in. So, I am not really here to tell you, a lore story like you would get from, Shoddy Cast or something like that, okay? That is not what I'm going to do. That's not, I am all alone. This is all me. Everything I give you comes from Eva and nobody else is involved, okay? I don't make any money. Except for my one absolutely lovely Patreon patron. I love you. I have one Patreon patron, but I don't make any money doing this, and I'm all alone doing this, and I'm doing this because I want to. So I am not producing the sort of lore that Shoddycast is capable of producing. And you're not going to get that from me. And they exist, so you don't need me to. I am much more interested in the conversation of like critiquing what Bethesda does in their games, and sort of looking at their method of storytelling. That meta is really interesting to me. So that's what you're going to get from me. And I'm not really interested in telling you things you can find out from a wiki. You know what I mean? You can go look at things in a wiki and find those out for yourself. I'm more interested in having a conversation. So it's so funny because Mr. Rex, who's a YouTuber I really respect, and he just made, I was thinking about how to make this video. I was trying how I would answer some of the questions I got. And then he came out with a video that did just that for his viewers, where he actually said, listen, I'm making these videos because I want to, and I'm making videos about things that I'm interested in, questions I'm interested in. I'm not here to tell you lore you can get off a wiki. I'm here to talk about possibilities and, theories, and what if this, what if that, what does it mean? You know what I mean? A really good video. I was totally inspired by it. It was so cool that he made that just as I was trying to figure out how to say something very similar to all of you. And so that's where we're at, and I hope you like it. And if you don't, man, Shoddy Cast is awesome. They do great lore videos. And so I'm going to end this here. Boys, getting along already. So I'm going to be back. I am going to be uploading my mod, and I will do a video for that. And then we will move forward. How's that sound? Okay, gotta go. Love you all. Have fun exploring. And I will see you soon. Okay, thanks. Bye.